Right, so I think with the setup, it's something that you tend to put the club down and say more toward the middle part of your body on occasions. Obviously want that club to be leaning forward slightly to dress, and it obviously helps when you grip the golf club. If this is more in line here, it does two things for your benefit. Number one, it puts the loft on the golf club you want to be hitting the ball with rather than leaning back and adding loft. And secondly, it's going to put your left hand on the grip in a much better position, yeah? More natural that you try to sort of manipulate and twist it and do all this kind of jazzy stuff, all right? So trying to go through that kind of sequence there. Then when you set your feet now, you can see a nice sort of lead arm and club shaft at address there. Your trail arm now nicely behind underneath with a good shoulder lean. Hands are just in front of the golf ball, head's just behind, really, really good. And the club face now we can see is probably a degree or two closed. Not the end of the world because that's not too bad. In the past though, especially more lofted clubs, when the top part of the club here obviously leans back more, it's easy to kind of like turn the club face round, because sometimes when that top toe end looks so far back here, you think, oh my God, that club's wide open, yeah? And then you sort of just try and move the club a little bit. So we often see people with wedges and the shorter irons close them down a bit. So just be mindful of that, okay? In terms of the actual swing though, as I say, takeaway now, you said you've been working on that kind of keeping the club out in front. I think from a sort of feel perspective with that left wrist there, we just sort of pinpoint on the screen. If you just feel like when you're swinging the golf club back, you're pushing that down, that's going to do the job in keeping that club nicely in front of you. And you get a nice sort of hinge of the wrist here now in the backswing, okay? So we're turning to the top of the backswing, really good. As we said there, the movement now, once you trust that the club face is squarer, we can now get back in the golf ball, getting this lead hip onto that wall, getting your hands slightly in front while maintaining your head behind the golf ball. And to be fair, mate, the movement you're making now, absolutely class, yeah? Really, really good shift into the golf ball. Maintain the angle there in your wrist. As you come back down the golf ball now, we unhinge and there's impact. I mean, it don't get a lot better than that reverse K they talk about, yeah? It's brilliant, really, really good. And that's why you get that sound almost. And something we always talk about, when you hear somebody like your brother-in-law who strikes it good, obviously 3-handicap golf is going to strike it pretty good, I'd imagine. It just sounds different, yeah? We've had a couple today where you've hit them and you're going, well, that sound a little bit, almost acoustically, we can pick out that kind of different contact because the hands are now nice in the front position, okay? Your head's nicely behind the golf ball. The weight now is shifting and then through to your follow through now. Just a very good relaxed finish there. So I think be mindful of setup, how we're kind of setting up the golf ball there with that, just making sure that hand of the club is just push a bit forward at setup. And that's basically with every club, yeah? In terms of where your hands want to be, you want them in this area, just left to centre. If we relate that to a driver, obviously your shoulders will be slightly more tilted, okay? So there's going to be more that way with your left arm and the left hand. So similar in terms of keeping that lead arm and the club nice in line. If you were chipping and doing a shorter shot, this foot would come in to be more here. So now the ball would be back in your stance and then you'd push your weight forward. So this shoulder at the front here now would tip forward. So you'd be more kind of in that position. What that will then do is almost like weaken off your grip size. So you keep a bit more loft on the club when you're playing the shorter shots. So you can sort of soften the contact, get a bit more kind of loft with these clubs when you're playing the short game. But for long game purposes here now, where you are there, in a really, really good position there. Lead hand nicely in front, shoulder and arm on the club nicely in line. Again, good hinge of the wrist on the way back, good rotation to the top. This move now is probably the best I've seen you move from the top of the backswing in that golf ball there, because now you've seen a dozen shots drawing right to left with a good solid contact. Well, now it makes sense to me to swing towards target, yeah? If the face in your mind is actually open or you feel it's open, in golf that's the same, yeah? Feeling really, if you think it's open, whether it is or not, you're going to think it's open, you're going to react against it. And the thought of then having a face aiming out to the right here, when you get there, it doesn't make sense for you to move it towards target. So what we sometimes see then in the past, and hopefully not so much going forward now, but your hip tends to sort of spin round here, so we tend to sort of see that going on a little bit, yeah, so the left, it was sort of coming backwards, and that's you just trying to send it somewhere left to target, because in your head the face is aiming to the right, yeah? Make sense, everybody, yeah? Yeah. Some really, really good. That there's, say, one of the best transitions I've seen you do. That's why the strike of those last half dozen 7-irons you've hit there have been really, really good. Keep that image in your head, mate. That's top banana. Okay, mate? Yeah. Good stuff, right.